Welcome to a journey of enlightenment and wisdom, where we explore timeless life lessons from one of history's most profound spiritual teachers, Gautama Buddha. Buddha's teachings transcend cultures and generations, offering guidance on how to navigate the complexities of life. He shared insights that resonate deeply within us, illuminating the path toward inner peace, compassion, and understanding. In a world filled with distractions and uncertainties, the lessons of Buddha remind us of the importance of mindfulness, the power of love and compassion, and the necessity of self-reflection. From the Four Noble Truths to the Noble Eightfold Path, Buddha's wisdom encourages us to seek clarity amidst chaos and to cultivate a life of purpose. Join us as we delve into these life lessons, drawing inspiration from Buddha's teachings to enrich our lives and the lives of those around us. Let us awaken our minds and open our hearts to the profound truths that guide us toward a more meaningful existence. Are you ready to embark on this transformative journey? Let's begin. Today we will learn about Buddha's next life lesson: selflessness. Selflessness, often understood as the absence of selfishness, is a key virtue in many spiritual and philosophical traditions. It involves placing the needs and well-being of others above one's own desires and interests. In its deeper sense, selflessness is not just about outward actions but also about an inner attitude of humility and detachment from the ego. The concept of selflessness, at its core, selflessness means letting go of the ego-driven desire to prioritize oneself over others. It is the practice of caring for others, acting with compassion, and being mindful of the collective good rather than solely focusing on personal gain. In many spiritual traditions, selflessness is seen as a path to greater fulfillment and inner peace. By transcending the ego and its narrow focus on personal needs, one can experience a deeper connection with others and the world, leading to a more meaningful and harmonious life. Selflessness in various traditions. 1. Buddhism. In Buddhism, selflessness is closely related to the concept of anatta or non-self. This teaching asserts that the self, as we commonly understand it, is an illusion. Clinging to this illusion of a permanent, independent self leads to suffering, dukkha. By realizing the truth of non-self, one can overcome selfish desires and attain a state of compassion and wisdom. The practice of dana, generosity, is a key aspect of selflessness in Buddhism. Dana involves giving without expecting anything in return, reflecting a selfless attitude that benefits both the giver and the receiver. 2. Hinduism. In Hinduism, selflessness is emphasized through the concept of karma yoga, the path of selfless action. Karma yoga teaches that one should perform their duties and actions without attachment to the fruits of those actions. By doing so, a person can transcend their ego and act in harmony with the divine will. The Bhagavad Gita, a central text in Hindu philosophy, advises acting without selfish desires, focusing instead on the well-being of others and the fulfillment of one's duty. Dharma. 3. Christianity. Christianity teaches selflessness through the example of Jesus Christ, who is seen as the epitome of selfless love and sacrifice. The concept of agape, unconditional love that is selfless and sacrificial, is central to Christian ethics. The Golden Rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, is a call to selflessness, urging believers to consider the needs and feelings of others as they would their own. 4. Islam. In Islam, selflessness is embodied in the concept of zakat, charity. One of the 5 pillars of Islam. Muslims are required to give a portion of their wealth to those in need, reflecting a selfless concern for the less fortunate. The teachings of the Prophet Muhammad also emphasize humility and selflessness, encouraging believers to serve others and act with compassion and generosity. The psychological and social benefits of selflessness. Selflessness is not only a moral and spiritual ideal but also has significant psychological and social benefits. 1. Enhanced relationships. Selflessness fosters stronger and more meaningful relationships. When individuals act selflessly, they build trust, cooperation, and mutual respect, which are essential for healthy and lasting relationships. 2. Reduced stress and anxiety. Selflessness can lead to reduced stress and anxiety. When people focus less on their own worries and more on helping others, they often find a sense of purpose and fulfillment that alleviates their own emotional burdens. 3. Increased happiness. Research in psychology has shown that selfless acts, such as volunteering and helping others, can increase a person's happiness and life satisfaction. This phenomenon is sometimes referred to as the helper's high. 4. Community and social harmony. Selflessness contributes to social harmony and community well-being. In communities where selflessness is practiced, there is often greater cooperation, less conflict, and a stronger sense of shared purpose. The challenge of selflessness. While selflessness is a noble ideal, it is not always easy to practice. Human nature often inclines towards self-preservation and self-interest, which can make selflessness challenging. The ego, with its desires for recognition, power, and material gain, can create obstacles to truly selfless behavior. Overcoming obstacles to selflessness, mindfulness and self-awareness. Practicing mindfulness can help individuals become more aware of their thoughts and actions, allowing them to recognize when selfish motives are at play. By cultivating self-awareness, one can begin to make more conscious choices that align with selfless values. Compassion meditation. Techniques such as metta, loving-kindness meditation, in Buddhism can help develop compassion and empathy, which are foundational to selflessness. By regularly focusing on the well-being of others in meditation, individuals can strengthen their ability to act selflessly in everyday life. Practice of gratitude. Cultivating gratitude can reduce the focus on personal lack and increase the awareness of abundance in one's life. This shift in perspective can make it easier to share with others and act selflessly. Small acts of kindness. Starting with small, everyday acts of kindness can help build the habit of selflessness. Whether it's helping a neighbor, offering a kind word, or volunteering time, these actions can gradually lead to a more selfless outlook on life. Service to others. Engaging in service, whether through formal volunteering or informal help to friends and family, can be a powerful way to practice selflessness. Serving others can help individuals move beyond their own concerns and connect with the broader human community. Selflessness and personal growth. Selflessness is not about neglecting oneself or denying one's needs, but rather about finding a balance where one's own well-being is aligned with the well-being of others. True selflessness arises from a deep sense of inner security and fulfillment, allowing individuals to give freely without resentment or the expectation of reward. In many ways, selflessness is a path to personal growth. By letting go of the ego's demands, individuals can discover a deeper sense of purpose and connection to the world. This, in turn, can lead to a richer, more fulfilling life. Conclusion: selflessness is a powerful and transformative virtue that transcends individualism and connects us to the larger fabric of life. By practicing selflessness, we contribute to the well-being of others and ourselves, fostering a sense of unity, compassion, and harmony in the world. Whether through small acts of kindness or larger sacrifices, selflessness is a path to a more meaningful and peaceful existence. A short story on selflessness, The Selfless Lantern, a tale of sacrifice. In a village nestled at the foot of a vast, misty mountain, lived a humble man named Arun. Arun was known for his kind heart and gentle spirit. He lived alone in a small cottage, making a modest living by crafting beautiful lanterns from paper and bamboo. Each evening, his cottage would glow with the soft light of his creations, casting a warm and inviting light into the surrounding darkness. The village was a close-knit community, but it was also plagued by a terrible curse. Every year, as winter approached, a dense fog would descend from the mountain, enveloping the village in darkness. The fog was so thick that it obscured the sun, leaving the villagers to live in perpetual gloom. Many believed the fog was the work of an ancient spirit that resided in a cave high up on the mountain. The villagers had tried many times to reach the cave and plead with the spirit, but the journey was treacherous. And no one had ever returned. One day, as the fog began to creep down the mountain earlier than usual, the village elders called a meeting. "This year, the fog has come early," said the chief elder. "If it reaches the village before winter, we will be trapped in darkness for months. We must send someone to the cave to speak with the spirit and lift the curse," but the villagers were afraid. The journey to the cave was perilous, and the spirit was said to be fierce and unforgiving. No one volunteered, and the village grew silent with fear. Arun, who had been listening quietly, finally stood up. "I will go," he said softly. The villagers turned to him in surprise. Arun was not a warrior or a hunter. He was a simple craftsman. But there was a quiet resolve in his eyes that the villagers had not seen before. "You are brave, Arun," said the chief elder. "But the journey is dangerous. Are you sure you want to take this upon yourself?" Arun nodded. "I have nothing to lose and everything to gain for the village. If my lanterns can light the way through the fog, perhaps they can light the way to the spirit as well." That evening, Arun prepared for his journey. He packed a small bag with food and water and chose his sturdiest lantern, a large one he had made with extra care, its frame strong and its light bright. The villagers gathered to see him off, their faces full of concern and hope. As Arun began his ascent up the mountain, the fog thickened around him. The path was steep and treacherous, with jagged rocks and slippery slopes. But Arun pressed on, lighting his way with the lantern, its glow cutting through the fog like a beacon of hope. Days passed as Arun climbed higher and higher. The air grew colder, and the fog thicker, but he never faltered. His thoughts were not of his own safety, but of the village below, trapped in darkness. He knew that if he turned back, the fog would engulf them all. And so, with each step, Arun whispered a prayer for strength. His heart focused on the well-being of others. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Arun reached the entrance of the spirit's cave. The mouth of the cave was dark and foreboding, and the air inside was heavy with an ancient power. But Arun did not hesitate. He lifted his lantern high and stepped into the cave, his heart steady. Inside, the cave was vast and cold, its walls lined with shimmering crystals. At the center of the cave sat the spirit, a towering figure of mist and shadow, its eyes glowing like embers in the darkness. "Who dares to enter my domain?" The spirit's voice echoed through the cave, deep and resonant. Arun bowed low, his lantern still held high. "I am Arun, a humble lantern maker from the village below. I have come to ask you to lift the curse of the fog that plagues our home." The spirit's eyes narrowed. "And why should I grant your request? Many have come before you, seeking to end the fog, but none have succeeded." Arun took a deep breath, his voice unwavering. "I ask not for myself, but for the village. They suffer in darkness while I stand here before you, willing to give anything to bring them light." the spirit was silent for a moment, studying a rune. Finally, it spoke again, its voice softer. You speak of selflessness, a rare quality in these times. But what will you offer in exchange for the light you seek? Haroun's heart pounded in his chest. But he knew what he must do. He placed his lantern on the ground before the spirit. Take this lantern, he said. It is the best I have ever made. If it can bring light to this cave, then perhaps it can bring light to the village as well. I offer it to you, along with my life, if that is what it takes. The spirit looked at the lantern, then back at Haroun. You would sacrifice yourself for the village? For people who may never know what you have done, Haroun nodded. Their happiness is my happiness. Their light is my light. If my sacrifice can bring them peace, then it's a price that I will pay. The spirit was silent for a long time, the cave filled with the soft glow of the lantern. Finally, it spoke, its voice filled with a newfound warmth. Your selflessness has touched me, Haroun. I will lift the curse of the fog and allow the light to return to your village. But your life will not be taken. Instead, you will return to your people, and your lantern will guide them through the darkness. With a wave of the spirit's hand, the fog began to lift, dissipating like smoke in the wind. The cave filled with light, brighter and purer than anything Haroun had ever seen. The spirit smiled, its form beginning to fade. Go now, Haroun, and take the light with you. Your village awaits. Haroun bowed deeply. Tears of gratitude in his eyes. He picked up his lantern, now glowing with an otherworldly light, and began his journey back down the mountain. The path was clear, the fog gone, and the way home was bright. When Haroun returned to the village, he was met with cheers and tears of joy. The fog had lifted, and the sun shone brightly over the village for the first time in years. The villagers knew that Haroun had saved them, not just with his courage, but with his selflessness. From that day on, the village thrived in the light of the sun and the warmth of Haroun's lantern, which was placed in the center of the village as a reminder of the power of selflessness. And though Haroun returned to his simple life of crafting lanterns, he was forever known as the man who had brought light to the darkness, not by seeking it for himself, but by giving it freely to others. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the timeless wisdom of Buddha. We've explored profound life lessons that offer us a deeper understanding of suffering, the nature of our desires, and the path to true inner peace and liberation. The Four Noble Truths teach us to recognize and accept the reality of suffering, to understand its origins, and to believe in the possibility of its end. By following the Noble Eightfold Path, we can cultivate a life of mindfulness, compassion, and wisdom, leading us to profound inner transformation and lasting happiness. Remember, these teachings are not just ancient philosophies but practical guides for our everyday lives. Whether it's through right understanding, right action, or right mindfulness, each step we take on this path brings us closer to a state of balance and serenity. As we conclude, I want to extend my heartfelt gratitude to each of you for your time, attention, and openness to these teachings. Your willingness to learn and grow is the first step towards a more enlightened and peaceful existence. Thank you for being a part of this journey. If you found value in these lessons, please share them with others who might benefit. Together, we can spread the light of wisdom and compassion in our world. Until next time, may you walk your path with mindfulness and may your life be filled with peace and joy. Namaste.